Well, it is so great to see y'all today, and for y'all that were able to come out, I'm so glad y'all were able to come out. I know this is a pretty difficult week for a lot of students. There's a lot of exams going on and things like of the sort, so definitely thanks for coming out. For those that are not here right now, we are live streaming, so if you're watching us, hello. Today we are going to be going over some more like teamwork. On Tuesday we went over more technical stuff, where like actual strategies and actual tools we could use. Today we're going to more talk about team dynamics and maintaining stress and kind of the principles you need to survive 72 hours of 3-day startup. So let's get started. The instructors today are me, I'm Sartaj. I'm a JavaScript instructor and interface designer at Makersquare. I don't know if you've heard of it. Dr. Andrew Zimbrock, who also talked on Tuesday, may touch on some stuff today. He's from Texas Venture Labs. And then we have Vijay Thakkar. Did I say that correctly?
Nope, that's all right.
How do I say it correctly?
Tucker.
Vijay Thakkar. CTO, he was a CTO at Zynga with Friends, and he created pretty much one of the geniuses behind the Words with Friends empire that y'all probably played on when you're not studying. So yeah, let's get into it. So just kind of really quickly going over what we went over. I gotta put my back against y'all. Over on Tuesday, just the principles of design. Mostly just design less and look for functionality more. Follow Dieter Ram's 10 Principles of Good Design. You'll find this link on here in the slide deck, and you can go through it throughout the weekend. And find that one real experience within the vision you have that you can kind of show off on Sunday to the investors in order to show that not only is your vision great, but you're the right team to accomplish that vision. So yeah, there's the strategy stuff. Just the overall idea behind this is you start really basic and vague, and then you get more specific by the time Sunday comes, because Saturday after market validation things change real quick. And then here's some tools. Code drops is something I talked about. Showed some examples of different UX experiences you can use. All of this stuff is open source and free to download, so I definitely take advantage of other people's great user experiences within your app. Don't just go for the basic stuff if you don't have to. And then development, same concept. If you're developing, whether you're developing a product or developing an app, just start really basic and then get more specific as the weekend comes, because you don't know what's going to happen. Just make sure, for example, you can push your stuff to a server. Heroku is what I mentioned, because we're only gonna have one laptop on Sunday, and I can't access your local server for my computer. Yeah, and then here's some links to some packages y'all may be able to use. And then, if you're doing iOS or Android, definitely look into some of the new iOS 7/Android tools that are available to make it easy. You really want to, this weekend, develop from scratch less and really find plugins out there that help you just put things together real quickly. And then we talked a lot about validation. Some of the statistics that Dr. Zimbroff mentioned were that 70% of products failed and 80% of those are due to the lack of understanding of the market. And I'm going to also add that if you're working within some sort of digital industry right now, the digital economics are similar with the tech world, I've noticed, as they are to other things that are invested in the digital economy, like music, film, etc. You have the one big winners, like the WhatsApps and the Kanye Wests of the world, that just end up. Okay, not WhatsApp actually. WhatsApp's more like an indie band. The Facebooks and the Kanye Wests of the world, and the big movies, the James Camerons, and then they make a lot of money and they're gazillionaires. But then everybody else, you're either indie or you're a bottom feeder. So there really isn't a lot of space for you as a company to be second place. It's kind of first, and if you're lucky, you'll be. You may find a market segment other than that, but you really want to shoot for excellence, because there is no other option really in the digital economy. And with market validation, you want to have general market validation, market research, percentages of markets, competitive landscape. Do you want to add anything to this?
No, it's pretty good.
Okay, cool. And for those that are pitching on tomorrow, your ideas, I definitely recommend doing some more research tonight. If you have any questions, talk to me or Dr. Zimbroff after the event is over about your idea, and we can help you kind of clean up your thought so you can pitch it tomorrow better. And use your tools. For example, this tool I'm going to show real quick. The University of Texas provides a database library research thing. Hold on.
Check your email. I just sent it to you.
Did you send it to me? Okay. Need to check my email. So this link right here, which I'll also have on the slide deck, which is University of Texas provides a lot of databases out there that are like thousands and thousands of dollars worth of research for most companies, and you have access to this for free. Definitely take advantage of it. Yeah. Back to the. Yeah. So, and then with your pitch, it's pretty simple. You all have heard of KISS, keep it simple, stupid. We'll provide you a pitch deck. Actually, you gave me the Gamble pitch deck, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me share
email.
Here's an example of what was a good presentation. Do you want to run through this real quick?
Yeah, sure. So this is a deck from a previous 3DS team. This is what they delivered on Sunday night. It's just very clean and very simple, and it's what we thought made for a good final pitch.
Yeah, that doesn't work.
So it just starts with a pain point, and it goes straight into the market validation we were just talking about. You don't have to like throw a ton of information or like a ton of charts at them, but even just like 1 or 2 points about that like highlight your pain point can make for a really compelling argument. And all this goes for Friday night pitches as well. If you can like sum up your pain point in like 1 or 2 sentences, like that makes for a really powerful Friday night pitch. Then they kind of talk about like just like the story they're trying to tell and like the product they're trying to sell to others. And once again, like they're not showing like the exact product or like screenshots. They're just showing like the idea they're trying to convey. Just very simple, pretty diagrams. And then finally, just another part just makes it strong is how they make money. So even if you don't have the exact revenue plan or like exact projections thought out, like just showing that you've thought it out and you have like a good system for doing so, like that can sell the idea strongly as well. So note they mentioned like they're gonna partner with other services and have affiliate links to other things. They don't say how much or like exactly how much money they expect to make, but they show that they've thought about it and they have a strong plan for the future. It's good to talk about competitors because it just kind of validates that other people are thinking of your idea and the pain point is significant enough to be out there, as well as it shows like kind of an understanding of the market, like what things are currently. And then it closes with more market validation. So this is a good pitch. Like we're not expecting this on Friday. They can be much rougher, like much less thought out. However, we will have a lot of mentors and a lot of pitch help over the weekend. So if you want to help like make a deck like this, feel free to talk to us or one of the mentors, and we'll help you make a solid pitch deck.
Cool. And one thing that I'll add to him, Josh Baer's, one of his recommendation is if you start off your pitch by saying we have multiple revenue resources, you already have a red flag on your account, or on your pitch. So really, business people especially, like try to find that one serious revenue stream that can actually make you money from the beginning. Don't say you have like 5 different ways to making revenue, because I mean it could work, but it's definitely a red flag for them. Do you want to add something?
Advertising will not be your answer.
Awesome. And if anything, actually, I'll add this link to. Let me see. Check out entrepreneurial.com. It's Josh Baer's blog. And he literally, like, I think very recently made a blog as to if you're going to talk to me. Oh, there it is. It's the most recent one. Read this blog post right here. It talks about what to expect the first time you pitch your idea to me. And, you know, he goes through all these kinds of questions. You know, how do you make money? Is it big enough to support the market? If you can answer a lot of these questions that Josh Baer literally provides here by Sunday, that'd be a very strong point, considering he's actually one of the panelists on Sunday too. So, yeah, know your audience. Anyway, let's get back to the pitch or the slide. So this is pretty much what we ran on Tuesday. Actually, because we're live streaming, I noticed that there's a lot of new faces here. I'm gonna go back real quick and provide some examples of designs so the people can get a good idea of it. Like these little things are what really can make your demo look amazing. Like 2 years, I think 3 days startups ago, there was a lawyer app where like the team wanted to provide an easy way for lawyers to source their documents. So all they did was they showed a document on a web app, and then it just selected the text of that legal source they wanted to cite. And by the time they were done selecting it, nothing else, a pop-up showed up and it said, here's your source, and here's this like the complete perfect source that's legally binding and everything. And you just heard it throughout the audience. And those are the kinds of moments you want to have at least one of those moments on your Sunday pitch. It's definitely one of those things you want to shoot for. On top of providing the market validation and providing a long vision. You show that you're in a great spot right now, and you show that you're going to a great spot in the future. That's the idea of the pitch. So like some good examples of UX. This is one of the guys that used to work at Apple. He made this. He made this little thing called Tangle, where like if you look at the 3 cookies right there, you can drag and it automatically changes the calories on that one too. It's a really simple user experience, but it's the kind of thing that could like catch people's attention. Then I showed this natural language form. Actually, so if you wanted to if you were having some Yelp style app, you can go through this and make something that looks like a sentence. And a good thing about this kind of way of showing a form is that it also provides, if you have a plan to go into like voice activated, if you're trying to go into the watch world or anything like that, voice is a huge thing. So this kind of form system is great. I actually last night made something similar to this just to test it out. So the viral coefficient is something that you'll learn about if you have a social app, where you try to figure out it's a ratio to figure out how good your viral program is going. So it's based on like the users that you have, the amount of invites they've sent out, and the amount that's been converted. So I made like a really simple natural language form thing yesterday that just shows the viral coefficient super simply. That's a good example of how that kind of UX works. You want to find the UXs that are different from other people's, because that's really what's going to help you set you apart. And what else? This. Come on, what's it? Here it is. There it is. All right. And then I think that's good for now. You can go through the other links later. But there's a lot of good resources I provide there. Anyways, moving on, let's go on to what we're going to talk about today. And one of the topics we want to talk about today is maintaining your energy. You are going through 72 hours. It is called, this is a boot camp, but this entire weekend is going to be like a boot camp. The Marines go through their kind of boot camp. This is the equivalent of that for you. Your energy is going to be tested. Your stress levels are going to be tested. Your ideas are going to be tested. If you have an idea, your ability to have passion while at the same time separating yourself from the idea, which is one of the most difficult concepts a visionary can go through. That's going to be tested. So many things are going to be tested. So you really have to kind of maintain your body. One of the things we want to talk about, we want to say is take deep focused breaths when you're stressing out a lot. And what that means is you just kind of blank everything and everybody else out, and all you do is focus on taking a deep breath and feel the air going through your body. I know it sounds hippie, but it's definitely what a lot of big companies are doing this nowadays. And then find whatever refreshes you. I like taking showers, so I would go home and take a shower and come back. And there's other little techniques like 30-minute cat naps you can take. Just drinking water. We're actually going to have something called Brigo Pong, which we had a Brigo keg last year, or last 3D startup, and I was like, hey, keg, Pong. They kind of go hand in hand, so why not have that this semester? But be careful with your substances. I, from personal experience, can say that there was one time that I had way too many energy drinks and I ended up in the hospital. So really be careful on that. You have to, you know your body and don't push yourself too far. And the other thing we want to talk about is teamwork. So who can tell me what Apple, the 90s Chicago Bulls, Google, and General Mills have in common? What about teamwork? What is it with teamwork that they do? What is the thing that they practice? All of them. Can anybody say? Mindfulness. It sounds crazy, but if you look at some of the top companies / teams of any kind of sport, musical, anywhere where a group of humans have to work together, you'll find that mindfulness has become one of the most critical concepts in any of those companies. Phil Jackson, who has won over 10 championships, would literally go and have Dennis Rodman and Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen do yoga together and meditate together. Imagine watching Dennis Rodman doing yoga after you see all the stuff that you've seen about him nowadays. But he made it work, and he made it where the team really respected and loved each other, and it became less of a journey, like winning a championship, and more of a spiritual journey towards excellence. And that's kind of what you want to shoot yourself towards. So one of the principles that we want to talk with is start with why. Raise your hand if you've heard of start with why. Sweet. For those of you that have not, there's a link here. I'm only going to show like 2 minutes of the video, but it's this guy that thought of it, and it's one of the most critical concepts.
And this discovery profoundly changed my
Is that loud enough?
on how I thought the world worked, and it even profoundly changed the way in which I operate in it. As it turns out, there's a pattern. As it turns out, all the great and inspiring leaders and organizations in the world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was codify it. And it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Why do you get out of bed in the morning? And why should anyone care? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we're better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You ready to buy a computer company? All I did was reverse the order.
So this is like a 15-minute talk. Y'all want to definitely look into that at some time or another. The idea behind it, though, is that with this weekend, it's going to be a critical balance between maximizing all three of these fields. You want to provide a vision. When Facebook made social networking, they didn't say we want to create a social network. Mark Zuckerberg said he wants to connect the world, and that was his mission. You go to Facebook's website, that's still their mission statement. They just happen to make a social network because they feel that that's the best way right now to do it. That is how they got to the conclusion that they were going to make Timeline, because they're like, we want to connect the world and make people share more. Well, you know, why only share the present and the future? Why not share the past too? That's where they got that concept from. Apple gets similar concepts from they will always want to challenge the cores of technology and by thinking different. Y'all want to find a similar vision statement, and this vision statement is not just for outward marketing, it's for inward, it's for your internal team too. If you have the same vision and your team has the same vision, you all truly believe in that vision, then it's easy to market to other people. You're not marketing at that point anymore, you're actually believing in something. And that's the big difference between, I think, a lot of successful companies like the Teslas and the Facebooks and the Apples versus other companies. You do things the right way in a social economy that we live in, and money, I mean, you have to find the financial revenue models, of course, but making that the only goal is not a good idea. Another principle is having compassion towards yourself. What that means is you take time to collect your own thoughts. You take time to recognize that you're valuable here. I mean, y'all were we only chose about 1/3 of our applicants this year, so definitely feel good about that. And know that you're valuable, even when you're going to hear us mentors pretty much kick your ass all weekend. But that's we're here to do. We're not here to put you down. We're here to help you grow. And part of that is starting to learn who you really are and where you really are in comparison to where you want to be. And then having compassion towards others. You have to spend time, especially the visionaries, to understand where your teammates are coming from. If you cannot repeat what your teammate is saying in a way that they will say, yes, that is what I'm believing, then your communication is broken. You need to spend time to fix that communication. The more that you can create that communication and those core principles with your teammates, the more trust you can have, and the less talking you actually have to do in the long run, and the more work you can get done. And then always question yourself and your teammates to reduce inconsistencies. This comes from the Socratic method that's been used by a lot of good product design companies. What you want to do is you always want to come from a perspective of, why is your teammate believing what he's believing? Why am I believing what I'm believing? What's the goal that I'm trying to achieve? And then say, well, if I'm trying to really achieve that, is this the best way to do it? If you see inconsistencies, don't take it as a, wow, I'm wrong. Take it as a, wow, we found it and here's room to grow, so we don't hear it from the panelists or from worse consumers. The more that you can accept failure head on, the less you'll have to hear it from consumers, and you definitely want to do that. Make small sacrifices for your teammates' large gain. What that means is if you, for example, have a designer on your team that is just kicks butt and really can make something crazy different, then it should be your job as a team to find a way to make maybe small sacrifices to really let him or her complete that goal, and if other way around, if you feel like you can provide something that's really going to be excellent in the next 2 days, you ask, hey, is there any way y'all can help me out? Any sort of small areas that you can help me out to help me complete this. Let's say a guy is is doing both the pitches and developing for your group, and he just happens to be better at pitches, or he just happens to be better at developing. Then it's good, even if you're not comfortable trying to find a way. Maybe I can do a pitch almost as good as him. Then you should probably do it so he can focus on development. It's those kinds of little sacrifices / gains of what makes a really strong team. An example would be the Chicago Bulls in the 90s, when you had the greatest basketball player of all time, Michael Jordan, on a team, yet you had 4 other egos on there. One of the greatest rebounders of all time, defensive men a lot of all-stars, and they have egos. I mean, it's good to have confidence in yourself. But in order to really win as a team, you have to put the ego away, but keep the confidence. See where a teammate can help you achieve the goal you want to achieve, and maximize that person to achieve that, and in a way that it also maximizes you. I know this is very vague, but it is these principles that you have to internally talk with your group to figure out. We have mentors all over the weekend to help you kind of get this kind of communication going. You want to get most of this done, by the way, by Friday night, because Saturday you're going to be rocking it hard. Breathe one as a team, and what I mean is, like, literally breathe one as a team. I would like, if you don't want to do this, you don't have to, but I highly encourage / I'm going to go to each group this weekend, and some point or another have that group just do nothing, and for about 5 minutes just breathe together, nothing else. And it's those moments when you can really clear your mind and not think about anything but your breath together, that you can come back and approach a stressful topic better. You want to rest, but you want to avoid idle time. If you have a group of like 5 people and you're tired, then take a break. Always take breaks. But if you're just sitting there and you have energy and you're not finding something to do, there's something wrong there. Talk to your teammates, try to find something to do. If that doesn't work, definitely go talk to one of us mentors, and we'll try to help you find a way that you can become useful. Because every manpower that is not, stress equity is, sweat equity is the only thing that matters this weekend. If you're not sweating, then you're not providing value. And some tools we'll have a reflection room this weekend, which is like a first for 3DS, and it'll just be like a relatively dim-lighted room where if you just want to like get away from everybody, you can go in there, you can pray, you can meditate. There will be a meditation ball there. I'll show you all what that is if you ever want to check it out. If you're having stress issues, talk to one of the mentors, and we'll try to alleviate it. We'll also have we'll try to have healthy snacks and other things to keep your nutrients up. So yeah, now we're going to move on to Words with VJ. He was the CTO at Zynga with Friends, and he is definitely like a genius in his own regard, and you want to listen to him because he's made some cool stuff.
Thanks, man.
Arrows are right here.
Out of curiosity, how many of you guys actually have meditated before? I'm just kind of curious. It's cool. It's this thing that's now kind of picking up a lot of steam inside of the entrepreneurship community. I just came back from a conference in San Francisco that was talking about exactly that. And so when StarTouch was talking about introducing it as a concept for 3-Day Startup, I think it's pretty fantastic. So if you've never done it before, if you've never done it under seriously heavy stress, I would definitely encourage trying it. So thanks for the intro. I was the CTO of Zynga with Friends. I helped start the company that made Words with Friends and build a couple companies before that. And I'm recently started a mobile software company here in town. So I've done this a lot. I've gone through a bunch of just like groups of going and building companies and products myself. I've gone through offsites, I've run offsites, and I've mentored 3-Day Startup a couple times in the past. So what I wanted to do is I kind of wanted to break down a bunch of the lessons that I've learned in the past and a bunch of the failures that I've seen from people who walked away from 3DS going like, oh shit, I wish I had known blank. Like I didn't get as much out of it as I could have. And one of the things I definitely believe is this whole experience is going to be about what you put into it. So if you dive headfirst into it, you put everything you can into it, you take advantage of the situation, you'll have a great time, you'll walk away with a lot. So first thing, your ideas are probably worthless up front. So I'm glad that you guys have them, and that's awesome, and that's a great starting point, but it's 5% of what the entire weekend is about. What you really want to do is take advantage of the situation and learn how to execute. And you're surrounded by a lot of people who've done this before and who've failed before. So I'd encourage you, when you're trying to pitch for your ideas tomorrow, when you're trying to work on things halfway through the weekend, focus on the process and the execution and getting better at that. Because regardless of what you come up with on day one, that's probably not going to be the company that you make and push and succeed at as the first entrepreneurship kind of experience in your life. So focus a lot on the process. Learn how to execute, learn how to not waste your time on things, learn how to take advantage of people around you, learn how to communicate in a team. On that note, your team is your toolbox, so leverage the tools that you have. What happens a lot of times with 3DS is somebody will come in with an idea and say, I need 3 engineers and 2 designers and 1 UI guy so I can build what I want to do and what I want to prototype. And they'll get in and they'll get 7 engineers, or they'll get 4 UI designers, or they won't get what they want. And they'll be like, well, I can't do what I wanted to do because this is what I have. This is the real life though. You get a set of people, take advantage of the set of people that you have, and actually build what you can inside of that. Look at your idea as a problem set, a problem that you're trying to solve, and then your team as your toolbox, and apply your toolbox to that problem set and build what you can. Some of the best ideas that have been built out of 3DS from what I've been, the ones that I've been at, didn't have any engineers on them, and they found ways to actually be effective and prototype things and answer questions and market validate without building anything. So look at your team dynamic and what you have as the starting point for what you can do through the weekend. Don't build a set of expectations before you have your team. This setting is really, really freaking rare. You've got a lot of people who are passionate about sitting down for 72 hours and building something together. You've got a lot of really brilliant mentors who have screwed up plenty of times in their lives and can teach you a lot. You've got a lot of people here who are willing to help you along in this process. Take full advantage of it. Like, you have no idea. I was a UT grad. I wish this existed when I was here at UT. I failed so many times in my career, and I probably would have learned a lot more in the course of this one weekend than I did in the first 5 years of my career. So really, really embrace this. Be completely open to asking questions. Be completely open to jumping onto somebody else's team and being like, hey, I'm having trouble with this, help me out. This is a community. This is a collaborative environment. I would highly suggest take full advantage of it. And if you're going to lean on one side or the other, shy doing your own thing versus like being that jerk that's just talking to everybody and trying to get advice, start over here and people will shift you back into a neutral zone. So Sartaj touched on this, which I was really happy about. Rally behind really, really clear and focused goals. The one thing that I think a lot of teams struggle with is they're like, I want to solve this big giant problem. They get dawdled down in some of the specifics of not being able to solve it, and then they kind of meander through the weekend because they're like, well, we can't solve all of this, so we're going to do these little pieces and maybe talk to some market validation and see whether we can do something. By the end of the weekend, they kind of just have this glommed together set of opinions on a problem. That's garbage. That is the opposite of execution. So what I would encourage you guys to do is every single day, hopefully multiple times a day, on whatever whiteboard you have in your room, right at the very top of it, the most important problem we're trying to solve is blank. The whole team can look at it, the whole team can agree that this is the thing we're trying to solve, and by the end of the weekend, we're trying to get this out. This is the big problem we're trying to solve. So that every time you get together, your team can sit down, you can look at that board and say, every single one of us is doing something that is going to help us solve that problem. It is the clearest way to make sure you're all walking in the same direction. And if you can't agree on it, maybe you should be on different teams, or maybe you should identify 1 or 2 other problems. But fight that fight, because not fighting that fight and not being able to identify that clear set of goals means your team isn't running in the same direction, and you're just wasting your time. Be open to viewpoints outside of yours. So this is a big struggle for people in the entrepreneurship community because we all think we're cocky and smarter than everybody else, and you're not. I guarantee you you're not, because I'm not either. And you're making products for other people. So no matter what you do, unless you're the only user of your product, and even if you are, you're gonna wanna get the feedback of other people. So be completely open to the ideas of your teammates, be open to the ideas of mentors, be open to market validation. Just because you believe something is going to be successful and you believe it's going to be right, doesn't mean it is. In fact, it probably means it's not, because there's a lot of information that you haven't looked at yet. So anytime you're really aggressively fighting for something, take at least 1 step back. Try and look at other people's viewpoints, integrate them in, maybe come right back with that same fight, but make sure you step back at least once and understand other people's viewpoints. Don't listen to everything people tell you. That's including me. That's fine. You can ignore everything I'm telling you today, and I would be very happy to, but if you do, have a reason to, and be able to stand up to it and fight it. So if I come to your group and I think you're wrong, I think you need to do X, Y, and Z, say no if you don't believe that. That's fine, but don't say no blindly. Say no because I believe in what, A, B, and C, and this is why I think we're going to go in this direction, and this is why that's important. It's really easy to just disagree with somebody. It's really hard to disagree with somebody and say, this is why I think you're wrong. So don't just listen to people's advice blindly, but if you disagree, have a reason to. Think it out, actually argue it. Does anybody know what an MVP is? Minimum viable product? So the way that I look at MVPs in the context of a 3-day startup is, again, identifying that big problem that you're trying to solve. So let's say I wanted to make some application that connected people over Android. I don't Identify really clearly what you want to do. The most important thing is that it's ultra responsive and connects people in the middle of the day or something like that. And prototype just that, the leanest possible thing that you can do for just that. The wide majority of the offsites that I've run when we were at Lutz, when we were building new ideas, almost all of our MVPs included 0 lines of code. The majority of them were like little pieces of paper that we cut out and put on boards. Lots of them actually included asynchronous gaming. That was a tabletop that we put out, and we just put out pieces and you came and took your turn whenever you wanted to. No code at all. One of our most successful prototypes was just MMS, was just sending a group text to each other and kind of abstractly defining the rules. So if you can figure out how to get a basic idea implemented without a line of code by just grabbing 10 other people at 3DS and say like, hey, I'm gonna run you through this real quick, tell me what works, tell me what doesn't. If it's a social network, you could prove that out this weekend at 3DS. If it's something that involves collaborative scheduling, you could probably prove it out over email. So really, really take a step back at what you're trying to solve and whether you need to do all of the hard work to actually go solve it. I'm working with a group in San Antonio right now that's trying to build apps for self-compassion, which is a lot of the stuff that Sartaj was talking about. And the natural tendency is we're going to go build out this big framework that's modular that we can go plug and play these little pieces. I was like, there's this other app that's doing 80% of what you're doing right now. Can we just put this into people's hands and start to figure out what's working and what's not? If somebody else has already solved some work for you, go take advantage of it. Because you don't, just building something for the sake of building it is the easiest way to waste your time this weekend. Call out the elephant in the room. So a lot of times what happens in these groups is there's 5 or 6 people, there's a lot of momentum behind something, probably something stirring in the back of your head that's like, you know, we're trying to make an app for teens and we're ostracizing Justin Bieber through half of it. Like, this seems like a really bad idea, and nobody speaks up. I guarantee you, if one of you is thinking about that elephant in the room, Josh Bader is going to say like, hey, what the hell about this in the investor meeting at the very end. So people are going to call you on that. The best way that you can actually succeed is to call yourselves on it and then have an answer for it. You don't have to solve the problem, but you have to at least prove that, like, you know, right, we identified that and this is why we think it's not a problem, or this is how we're going to solve that. So if you think there's something that people are missing in your group, don't be polite, frankly. Stand up and say, I think this is something that we need to think about, and just call it out. And don't fear failure. Embrace growth. I guarantee you, whatever you do this weekend, you're going to screw up. You're going to fail. Your idea that you're going to start with is probably not going to work when it comes down to it. You're going to learn that, hopefully, over the course of this weekend. Last 3-day startup was probably the best example of this for me. There was one group that I thought had an incredible idea, really, really good. They pushed on it. They didn't really go very far, and by the end of the weekend, their Sunday night pitch was effectively the same as their Friday night pitch, and they kind of proved out some basic market validation, but they hadn't really gone anywhere because they didn't actually push themselves to do anything hard. They basically were convinced that their idea was good enough, and it was still good enough by the end of the weekend. It's a huge disappointment for me. On the other side, there was a group that was trying to solve a nearly impossible problem that is personally very close to my heart because I'm trying to solve it right now. And they pushed on it, and before the end of the first night, they found an infinite supply of problems. They couldn't figure out what to do. The next day, they went to try and market validate. They were like, okay, those problems actually didn't work. They burned the idea to the ground, so that was a massive failure. They tried another one, got more market validation, burned that one to the ground because it still didn't work. Got back, the team was struggling because it was, doing that as a churn. It is difficult, it's a painful emotional experience. They built that together, and by the end of it, they had something that they had built that looked absolutely nothing like their initial pitch. But this idea was actually really, really solid, and that team was the team that impressed me most, because any one of those people, I feel like I could throw in a problem and be like, go. I trust that you're going to go somewhere and you're going to learn something over the couple of 3 days that no other people in this group are actually going to be able to do. So don't fear failure. If you end on Sunday and you haven't screwed up at least 2 or 3 times, you didn't take advantage of this weekend. Look at it as a situation to push yourself, to get mentors and other people here to help you, and just grow out of that. This isn't new for new entrepreneurs either. I'm starting a company right now. My co-founder and I are working on a very hard space. We've had three cases so far in the last year where we were 100% confident that what we were doing was the right direction, that we were totally happy, very successful, it's definitely going to work. Pushed it out there, complete failure. My favorite picture so far of my co-founder is him like exasperated in a chair with a whiteboard on it with just fuck written across the top because all of our assumptions were wrong. And that's okay. That's a part of the process. So be okay with the fact that you're going to screw up and you're going to fail. Don't let it deter your confidence up front, but don't let it destroy you when it happens, because it's going to happen. And it happens to everyone. It happens to Zuckerberg. It happens to Pincus. It happens to Gates. It's going to happen to every successful entrepreneur out there. So get used to failing, because it's going to happen a lot, but it makes the highs a lot better. That's my last one.
That was VJ. So we have just a couple more things to talk about before we're done here. Mentors. Our job is to be your mediator. Within that, you kind of have to. Who's seen Full Metal Jacket? All right, I'm Sergeant Pyle, or whatever the guy's name is. We're not going to tell you what we think is going to make you happy. We're going to tell you what we think is going to help you grow. And that may not be what you want to hear, but as VJ said himself, take into account what we said, and if you disagree, have a reason to disagree with it. But don't just be angry about it and run away. It's a process, a learning process. Yeah, and we're here to help your company, not hurt it. And within that, we're gonna pretty much ask you all the questions that we think any consumer or investor would ask you. And as I said before, most companies do fail, and especially in the digital economy, you got to be first. So we're going to treat you like you want your company to be first. And some miscellaneous stuff. Dress code, maintain your hygiene. You'll be up there's a chance that a lot of you may be up all night, at least 1 or 2 nights. There's a chance you're just going to be nonstop working, not maintaining yourself. Just, don't start smelling too bad. But wear whatever, enables you to work efficiently. For some people, that's, wearing a suit every day. For other people, it's different. But you are putting in sweat equity, so there's nothing wrong with sweatpants. If you just want to wear, as long as you're wearing something, you have to wear something, obviously. But I most likely will probably be in my exercise clothes on Saturday maybe, but then I want to have my swag on for Sunday because I'm talking to investors. That's me personally. Whatever you want to do, go with it. Food. There'll be food Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. All meals Friday, lunch or dinner, and then breakfast, lunch, dinner Saturday, and breakfast, lunch. I'm not sure about dinner Saturday or Sunday. So don't worry about that. We have food things for vegetarians, kosher people, etc. We have all that taken care of. Transportation, it is at Austin Technology Incubator, which is up north near Breaker, next to the Domain Mall. So if you need a ride, just email me, and we'll try to get some ride sharing situations going. Unless you want to create a ride sharing app this weekend.
You can take the Pickle Research Bus there as well. There's a stop right in front of ATI from campus.
Yeah.
Pickle PRC.
Okay. Yeah, it's one of the UT buses, orange. Do y'all know how to find the bus routes on Capital Metro?
That doesn't go on weekends, actually.
It'll go on Friday.
On Friday.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So if on Saturday y'all need a ride, there's a lot of us that have cars. So just email and we'll help you get there. As I said before, take time to rest, but avoid idle time. And then discrimination won't be tolerated. Don't say anything that's sexist, homophobic, etc., or act in a way, more importantly, like that. So if you're having troubles with that right now, it's probably best you just leave 3DS, to be honest. And have fun. This is it's a journey for y'all. Take it as a spiritual journey for yourself to grow as an entrepreneur. And as VJ said, there's so many mistakes that he made in 5 years that he would have learned in this weekend. I can say the same. I've built so many failed companies that I'm like, wow, if I just had a 3-day startup to teach me half this stuff, I wouldn't have failed so many times. Really take advantage of it. And I promise you'll never forget this experience if you take full advantage of it. And I guess that's it. Who has some questions? Yeah.
I wanted to ask you something. Would you give us a comment about leadership in the team, or what comes into your mind if your project comes software, you have to run the team? I don't know. I just wanted to hear
When it comes to leadership, I think it's something that we have to work on both sides. So a person who's championing something, who's really passionate about an idea and leading, you have to remember that leadership is not just draconian, take my idea and run with it. It is your responsibility, frankly, to rally the team, to get them excited, to get them passionate about working on it. And if they're not excited about it, then that's kind of your responsibility. And then on the other side of it, for people who are great followers, and that's not meant in a negative way at all, a lot of people are in that camp, and that's awesome, that's what they're passionate about. It's their responsibility to really jump in and say like, okay, great, this is the role that I'm going to fill this weekend. Maybe it's not the role in my life, but I'm going to jump in and I'm going to help this guy actually support his vision and take it forward. Because in the end, that symbiotic relationship between leader and follower in these situations is only going to be beneficial. So it's a matter of mutual respect. Like, you're all peers, you're all working together, and your goal is to work together to go make something successful and to grow together. So I would make sure that regardless of what side you're on, make sure you're respectful of the situation and what you're actually doing. It's really easy, really easy for leaders to take responsibility and accountability for what they're doing, and then as such start to make the experience pretty crappy.
Just to add to that, actually, there's also feedback. So if your idea was pitched, your team isn't there just to execute your specific purpose vision, right? Your team is there to help you take that idea and learn about it and shape it into something that's actually real, something that can go out into the real world, which means that you don't understand every aspect of it, and you have to listen to what's going back and forth. So feedback, just to add everything, on top of what you said. That's great.
Yeah, what comes to my mind is that you might, if you know the idea, then you might want to work on the idea with the team, but at the same time, I was wondering, it might be just more efficient if you're running or working with 6 different people to act as a coordinator, maybe to try to get the team to understand each other and to make the best out of the initial idea, whatever it is, than to be as another member and 7 different people without coordination, like you're working, it's hard. I wanted to hear, what would you say about that?
In the end, 3DS is not about success and failure of ideas. It's success and failure of execution. So it is a pretty fluid environment. There are times when people hop from team to team. Something like that can be challenging, but the point of 3DS is to grow and learn as individuals and learn how to work together and succeed in that execution phase. So I would say if you find yourself in that situation, absolutely try and explore it and make sure you can find good ways to grow yourself and improve the teams that you're working on. I think that's totally fine.
If I may actually add to that, don't pigeonhole other people / pigeonhole yourself. If someone comes in as a designer or developer, that doesn't mean they don't know how to what good market validation is. That doesn't mean they don't know what a good idea is. Don't just say, oh, you're the designer, just go keep doing design. The instant that you do that, you probably pissed them off. You probably lost their trust.
You lost a resource too.
And yeah, exactly. You really want to make people feel like they're able to really explore their skill sets and grow in a way. At the same time, you yourself, don't want to explore too many different skills that you haven't tried before in a way that hurts other people that are really good at what they do. Especially, for example, if you want to be like a coordinator, if I wouldn't take it as a way to say that, hey, I am, making sure all the pieces are working together. And let's say you're not able to coordinate it very well. Don't take it as they're not listening to me. Take it as I'm not listening to them.
I have a question again on that topic, because I think that worries me the most this coming weekend. Can you go through, I guess, logistically what it looks like to have teams form? Because I know we pitch our idea Friday night, and then the teams develop. Can you just talk about that in actual physical?
Yeah. Andy, do you want to probably have a better answer to this than I would?
So essentially, when you talk about ideas in a small group, and then you come back and reassemble as a large group, and you kind of vote on what ideas would be best for the weekend and what you want to work on. So then, once you vote, the top 5 or 6 ideas are selected, and then you're pretty much allowed to self-form. So we're not going to force you to work on anything or force you to work on a team. We really leave it up to you guys to figure out what's the best dynamic and what is the best team allocation. That being said, we've noticed some pattern for what makes for a good team and a bad team. So if there's 20 of you all clumping on one team, that's not gonna be very efficient. We'll recommend you guys do something different, but like we're not gonna force you to do anything.
I'd also like a little more color on how ideas are going to rise to the top on Friday night, because you know when you're talking about kind of these kind of big and mighty ideas of how to inspire people, you know, like I love thinking of myself as a really amazing person who's going to change the world. So I'm not right. Thinking highly of myself is really one of my favorite things to do. But I also acknowledge that that money, you know, is on the table. So are inspiring ideas going to take precedent over, say, an idea like where the why is because we're horrible people and we'll put really great money behind really horrible things? Like Facebook is a really great example. Mark Zuckerberg didn't start Facebook to bring people together. He started it to objectify women on his campus, and we're awesome at that. And then it turned into this really profitable and now he's rich, you know. So if somebody doesn't necessarily have a really honorable why, but they do have a why that works, that resonates, but isn't necessarily so, but doesn't make us feel terribly good about ourselves, but could make everybody in it a lot of money, is that idea gonna keep going in case my obviously very honorable idea doesn't make the cut? Can I still have the option to join a team that I just know is gonna make money?
I mean, making money is it's a completely necessary thing, and the way that I would answer that is if you can convince your group to rally around that, chances are you'll be talking about equity very soon because they want to make money too. If they're not if they don't feel like they're saving the world, they're going to want a piece of that pie.
So I guess what I'm saying is like, do ideas...
Are you talking about over the weekend or in general?
On Friday night. On Friday night.
So think about
like
this
if
one.
I want to start this like...
This is total self-selection at this point. The only time we have any say in teams is the initial committees, just to get you all kick-started. If you can convince your peers that the idea is good enough for the committee and then convince the group that the idea is good enough to run with, then you're able to run with it. This is your event. We're here to help you guys.
So it's basically kind of like democratic at each.
This is your guys. All of your
It's almost like anarchy, actually.
It's also like
it's complete anarchy, almost. Pretty much like we only give you recommendations. I mean,
that we're facilitating.
No, it's
Not quite anarchy.
not complete anarchy.
We're there to help you guys out to.
It's Hunger Games.
You guys determine whether the weekend's a success or a failure. That's you guys. Like that's your responsibility. So you choose the ideas, you choose the teams. You run with it, you choose whether to execute, you know, in a good manner or in a bad manner. Like that's entirely.
Yeah, the answer to that is if you can sell your horrible idea that's going to make $10 billion over the guy who wants to save the world, then your idea will get picked.
Run with it.
It's your ability to sell it.
Exactly.
my idea is not like torture porn or anything. I'm saying it's like, but if there was idea.
There might be people that argue that's the way to save the world. I don't know.
So then how many ideas ultimately get to form teams?
It's usually about 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Like it's if there's a pretty even split, we might get up to 7.
Okay.
I think at one event there was 8, but that's pushing.
It's rare.
Yeah, that's pushing.
And how many people are we told?
We have actually at this point we have about 40, and we have about 40. Exactly.
Okay, so.
And then team sizes are also up to you guys too. Like I've seen teams as big as 14, I've seen teams as small as 2.
Okay.
So that's up to you.
Let's stand PhDs, make those 2.
I know they always take off and do that.
Yeah, I mean, last year last semester we had an idea that was completely illegal that the kid just kept rolling with anyways. So.
Only illegal in the U.S.
Right.
Illegal.
So this was the first
He wanted to create a Silk Road style.
what?
He wanted to create like a Silk Road style marketplace.
For equity.
For equity.
It wasn't just like
Right. But
don't start something illegal. Like we really don't want you guys to do that.
But then you're facilitating, so it's like.
We don't provide legal advice for if you go.
So we will strongly encourage you not to do something illegal.
Exactly. So
Could you I know you work at Maker Square right now. Could you do the golden circle for Maker Square, just for like an example?
What do you mean?
Like the why, how, what? Just
The
like
golden circle. Oh, what does Makersquare provide?
yeah, but you do like
Yeah. Makersquare wants to help people that are motivated grow as fast as they can within a short amount of time. That is their goal. They want to educate people and give them careers. They happen to realize that they're very good at creating curriculum and immersive courses that can help people get there. What they decided that they're going to go with is computer programming because number one, they're in Austin, which is the #1 city in the country right now, and the highest paying job for people that don't have a degree right now is software development. So they figured out that that's the best way to get there. Does that kind of provide that?
Yeah.
That's golden circle. But they may completely reinvent themselves if hardware development becomes the main way people are having careers. Maybe in 3 years, Makersquare will be doing a bunch of Arduino projects.
So like the why is really just we want to help people get jobs.
Yeah, exactly.
And you guys just flexible to whatever the market demands.
Yeah, I mean, we want to help people, build their lives, American dream style.
What happens if it's like something really sketchy?
Also
Never mind. Would y'all?
American.
You guys
Also
are
very
all gonna
American.
end up in jail.
No, I'm just kidding. We're not doing it.
Yeah, I was trying to find a joke there.
No, it's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a joke that I said on Tuesday is, for example, if y'all are deciding to start some hemp farm or something like that, it's probably better to start in 3DS Denver, not 3DS Austin. Yeah, you've been wanting to ask a question for a while.
Oh, actually,
You good? Okay.
Yeah, so for our pitch deck, should we point out the elephants of our ideas beforehand, or should we just save that? So like pointing out the potential problems that we're gonna encounter.
It's always a good thing.
Okay.
It's also a tactical thing. Like sometimes you want to leave something off so that you open up a question,
Okay.
and you should have an answer for it, regardless of whether you directly bring it up or not.
Okay.
You want the people listening to your pitch to have their gears turning and thinking about your idea.
Okay.
So you don't want to be too, too forward with things. There's a happy balance.
Okay.
If they're sitting there thinking about your idea, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, that's a good way to put it. Like, the goal of the pitch should be to have people's minds thinking. Can I add anything?
No.
Is there any other? You had a question, right?
Yeah. So Friday, should we prepare a pitch deck for Friday?
For your idea,
Yeah.
if you have an idea, I would recommend having some level of pitch/market validation, to show that you care enough to do the research. You're trying to convince a bunch of other people to go with your idea. So I would have as much or as little ready as you think is proper. I mean, I've definitely seen some of the best. I mean, some of the best ideas. I've seen both really well researched ideas do really well and bad at 3DS, and I've seen ideas that straight up get thought up on Saturday night do well and bad.
Well, I guess my question was, do we need to prepare a physical deck for?
No. So you don't need anything for Friday night. However, if you can come in with some data points or with some research that backs up your startup, that can make a very strong Friday night pitch.
Exactly. I mean, it could be as simple as a bulleted list that you just make and follow.
And Friday's less about looking pretty and more about selling an idea. So don't expect the Friday night pitches to look like what we showed you just now.
Right. Yeah. I mean, just open up Notepad and just have tab
Yeah,
form. That works just
exactly.
fine, honestly.
just out of curiosity, what if within the team there is kind of a conflict of methodology? So say that I don't know how many you use this anymore, but I guess a fight between waterfall and agile. How does the people at 3DS kind of facilitate?
So for those that don't know what that is, waterfall is a way of development that it's really used in hardware industries where you kind of have to complete a final project, and once you release that product, there's not really a way to improve that product. So there's a lot of planning and design that goes initially into it. Agile is more for software development or web software development, where you can keep moving, because if you make a mistake, you can fix yourself in the same day and re-push it back on. To answer your question, I don't think those kinds of process problems will necessarily happen, because I'm pretty sure most people will naturally gear towards agile development. But I do think that there'll be conflict. And this happens all the time, conflicts of way people think they're going to achieve the vision by Sunday night. And really, the process is if you have a direct conflict with somebody, ask them questions as to why they believe what they believe. Make sure that you fully understand it in a way that they feel comfortable with the way that you repeated what they said, and then vice versa. And then from there, if you still can't find any sort of breaking ground, you feel like it's gonna be a kind of a chasm that's not gonna like do well for the weekend, then maybe you want to look into joining another group. You can totally, people switch groups like throughout the weekend. I don't know how frequently it happens. Does it happen pretty frequently, or?
There's usually some sort of reallocation during the weekend.
Yeah.
Sometimes teams just find out that there's something already out there. There's like the idea is not as viable as they thought. So usually there's like 1 or 2 instances like that per weekend.
So yeah, I mean, again, yeah, it's free reign. You can do whatever. You can really do whatever you want, but you personally should always have the goal of saying, I want 3DS to be a legitimate learning experience for me. Maximize your time that you're here. So yeah, if you're having conflicts, then try to find where you can achieve that best.
I think it's already been said. I'm just trying to make sure. So tomorrow night, essentially we're pitching our idea to like a small group and then again to the big group, or how's that working? Like how's everyone getting out knowing what all the ideas are? Because if you're only pitching to one small group, then
yeah, and there could be everyone in that group would like your idea,
yeah.
but no one in your group would like your idea.
So we don't have time as a big group to pitch and vote on like 40 separate ideas. So we kind of break you guys up to discuss a little bit and like kind of get a natural sense of like what's a good fit for the weekend or what would be better like worked on outside of the 3DS environment. So it's mainly done for like pragmatic reasons. And then like any like really good idea, like we'll have an opportunity to pitch to the large group and really like present it to everyone in the room.
Yeah, I mean, and from that perspective, that's
if
why
it's good enough to survive committee, then it's good enough to be pitched. If you guys can't get like 5 people to be on board, then yeah, sorry.
Okay, so pretty much the point of tomorrow night, like this whole collaboration thing, is to kind of talk to as many people as we can and then form our own groups without having like the group all together and vote.
Exactly, and then Friday night you state the clear vision, you state your strategy for the next 2 days or whatever. Whoever you have, designers will start designing basic stuff, developers will start developing basic stuff. And then Saturday morning you'll go out and try to validate the market that you have, and then you just keep rolling from there.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you had a question.
Yeah, when people give their pitches on Friday night, are we going to get any input from the mentors about the pitches, or is that going to be for later?
We'll get more input than you want to hear.
Yep.
In regards to market validation, sometimes we might have apps for like competitors, and sometimes we might have to pay for those apps. So is there like some sort of reimbursement or like fund that we could use, or would that just be out of pocket?
To like use apps during the weekend?
No, I mean like suppose we have an idea, but we know of competitors' ideas out there, and they have apps or something, and we want to like test
use their apps.
Yeah, we don't have a reimbursement,
Yeah, no.
but almost everything out there has a 30-day free trial or whatever. So
Yep.
I can't think of a single.
Part of what you definitely need to learn, I think I should have made a slide about it, is as much as you need to learn meditation, you need to learn hustle this weekend.
Yeah.
Like some hardcore hustle. And I mean, the people that do the best in society are the ones that have a very clear, clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose mentality. Just they know their vision, but they also know how to hustle their way to get to that vision, to get that vision done. Even if you have a crappy pair of hands, a good hustler can find their way to survive at least that hand and move on and win the overall tournament. Yeah.
Will we get to pick our small groups?
Nope.
No.
That's right.
Yeah, we randomly set that up, and then but then you pitch on Friday night, and then from there it's all organic, pretty much. Yep.
Hey, so you guys just said like that it's good to bring some data points, but at Tuesday's talk, you guys said that maybe that if you had developed enough to be a handful of slides, that you can help refine it, that some slides would be good. And I was planning on bringing slides because I'm in MBA. I run a content marketing firm, and I kind of feel like if I don't bring something like that, then it's really hard to show my value to engineers who are way, way, way smarter than me. But is that going to make it look like I'm just like trying way too hard, or like so bring them or don't bring them?
You want to look like you're trying way too hard, in my opinion.
Okay, because I'm going to try so hard.
The harder you look like the more you look like you believe in your vision, the easier it is to make other people believe in your vision.
Okay, so Bring slides, recommended.
Well, bring what you can, what you think you're gonna need to convince people your idea is worthwhile.
Okay.
Whatever that is.
Oh yeah, if you look like
What is starting to do like? Do you guys like
I would
chocolates?
really
Do you
like
guys
your idea if you
edibles?
bring me
Do you guys
Yeah, bribe. Yeah, can you bribe people?
Every one of you are going to jail. Give me an empty 3D
Just want to double check the Friday pitch runs around like 5 to 7 minutes. Right? Or...
3 to no, it's like 3 to
yeah, it's like 3 to 5.
So the last one, the Sunday one, runs 5 to 7.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah. Other questions? What's up? Yeah.
Can you give them like a good overview of 3DS?
What's up? I can't read sign language. Oh. Did you say you had an overview?
Well, no, if we're killing it.
No, we don't have to kill it. I was just gonna announce, like, if you guys want to network a little bit, we have a little happy hour next door at CU29. If you're of age, you can buy a drink. If not, you can still hang out.
Well, I mean, most people here are under 21, so they can just.
Well, you know,
Well,
whoever's
I'm not, so.
Whoever's over 29 can grab a drink. Hang out.
Yeah, I mean, now that we're done, we're pretty much done here. What I highly recommend y'all to do for at least, I mean, I'll be here for a little bit, talk with each other, meet each other. If you have an idea, I highly recommend you like talk to at least me or Andy or BJ or one of us that can help just kind of get your idea ready for tomorrow night.
Let's not do that.
You have what comes to that?
Yes.
Yep. Good luck, guys.